Hello everyone and welcome to one of the nicer games from the World Blitz Team Championship. It is Nepomniachtchi versus Hans Niemann. It's from the knockout stages of the event, and I guess Magnus and Nepo just had to play rock, paper, scissors in order to see who will face Hans on board one, and it would seem that Magnus lost both of those rock, paper, scissors encounters to Nepo, as Magnus failed to show up even once to face Hans, so Nepo is facing him on board one. So let's check it out, as Nepo and Magnus's team are the winners of the World Team Blitz Championship. And here is a very nice photo by Maria Melianova of the winners. If you can name all of them, then extra points to you. You are really awesome and you have immense vast knowledge. If you can do it, feel free to do it in the comment section. Now let's check it out. Nepo versus Hans. Nepo with white opens with pawn to c4. We have knight to f6, knight to c3, and pawn to e5. The two knights variation of the English. Knight f3, knight to c6, the four knights variation of the English, and pawn to g3 now. We have knight to d4, immediately going for some tricky stuff, and bishop to g2. We have knight captures, and bishop to b4 by Hans. Queen to b3, Nepo goes after the bishop, and pawn to a5 defending. We have castles by both players, so castles, and rook to d1. And there is a game that was played in 1989. Boris Gelfand played pawn to d6 here, and he defeated Wolfgang Ullmann, but Hans goes rook to e8, and it is now, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game. So okay, Nepo strikes in the center, and Hans advances his e-pawn, e4, challenges the bishop to g2, and pawn to h6, prevents bishop to g5, so bishop to f4 by Nepo, and now Hans gives up his dark square bishop. Bishop captures on c3, and you could capture with the queen. Nepo decides to capture with the b pawn, and now pawn to not pawn to d5, pawn to d6. Just nicely preparing to develop the light square bishop, but you still have to figure out how to go about the b7 weakness. So pawn to c5 by Nepo, and now pawn to d5, grabbing the center, also defending the e4 pawn. Rook 8 to b1, and now rook to a7. The rook will be useful here once the pawns are advanced. Maybe you can even double up on the d or on the e file, and you never want the rook on a8 when playing against the Catalan bishop. We have pawn to c4, challenging Hans's strong center, and now d captures on c4. We have queen captures and knight to d5, attacking the bishop, and bishop to e5. And here Nepo is being very, very tricky. He's inviting Hans to play pawn to f6, which looks like a very good idea. The problem is, if you play it, then you've opened up this diagonal, and bishop captures on c7 is just very nasty. You cannot capture with the knight is pinned, and if you capture with the queen no longer defends the knight, so that's the idea. So of course, just bishop to f5 by Hans, he's not falling for that trick, and pawn to c6 by Nepo. B captures, queen captures on c6, and pawn to f6 now. Now it can be played as the queen left the diagonal. Queen to c5, first challenging the rook on a7, and the rook to a6. We have bishop captures on c7, inviting knight captures on c7, but just queen to d7. If you play knight captures on c7, of course, just queen captures on f5. The bishop on f5 is undefended. So bishop captures on c7, we have queen to d7, defending the bishop, preparing to capture on c7 with the knight, and rook d to c1, defending, and now king to h7. Hans wants to have a safer king, as he is very low on time. With 14 seconds, you do not want your king on g8, so he plays king to h7. Somewhat better would have been to bring the rook over to c8, nicely aligning it with the Nepo's queen, but king to h7, and now bishop captures on a5. Other moves were possible, but I mean, so little time on the clock, we will not be over-analyzing this. We have pawn to e3 by Hans, and Nepo doesn't want to calculate. He just goes rook to b2. The idea is that if you play bishop captures on d5, which sort of Hans is offering a piece here, you will win the game, probably, but it's very hard to calculate. This is one line that we actually could show. Bishop captures, e captures on f2 with check, king f1, now bishop captures rook on b1, rook captures, and queen to h3 with check. Very tricky, because if king captures on f2, queen to f5 check will pick up the rook on b1 as well, so you have to play bishop to g2, and now queen captures on h2, threatening queen g1 checkmate. So queen to f5 check, king to h8, now king captures on f2, And now this very nasty rook captures on e2 check. King captures, queen captures, and you cannot block with the queen because you will lose the bishop on a5, but you can start bringing the king up the board, and this should be enough for you to win the game. But good luck calculating that. It was a good idea by Hans to play pawn to e3 as Nepo goes rook to b2. E captures an f2 check, king captures, and now knight to e3. Very, very annoying stuff for Nepo to calculate, and you probably should play something like pawn to d5 or rook to b7 going after the black queen while the bishop is still on g2. But here we have bishop to f3, and now it's a winning position for Hans. Will he see it with 5 seconds on the clock? It's hard to say, but feel free to pause the video and try to figure it out while I give you a couple of seconds. Of course, all of you found it as it's, it's a 2-move tactic, but just in case you haven't, rook captures on a5. That's the idea. You attack the queen, you pick up the free bishop, and if queen captures, then queen captures on d4, threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries while attacking the undefended rook on b2. And the most beautiful thing is that after queen to b6, seemingly defending both of these threats, there's a double check. Knight to d1 check, and of course, even the bravest king flees in the face of a double check. So you have to move the king, king e1, and now you take the rook. Queen captures, knight captures, and now you're just going to be up a full piece. You have a knight and your opponent doesn't. So, of course, completely winning. But after bishop to f3, of course, Hans, with 5 seconds, does not find that. He plays bishop to e4, and now king captures on e3. Hans says probably, okay, Nepo probably will not put a king on e3, but that's exactly what Nepo does. Bishop captures on f3 with check, king captures on f3, and now queen captures on h3. So can Nepo's king survive on f3? Well, it's a question if Hans can mobilize those rooks. We have pawn to e4, Nepo grabs the center now, king back to h8. We have bishop to c7, and rook 8 to e6, doubling up on the e-file, rook to e1 defending on e4, and now pawn to f5. We have bishop to e5, putting pressure on this diagonal, king to h7, and now rook to b7. Nepo really going after Hans's king. Now rook to g6. F captures on e4 is also very nice, but Hans is playing an increment here. Rook to g6, and now queen to c2. Again, nicely aligning the queen with the black king. Pawn to f4, and now bishop captures on f4, rook to f8 going after the white king, and pawn to e5. There's really no good way for Hans to get rid of that bishop. Queen to g4 with check. We have king to e3, now king to g8, unpinning from this diagonal, rook e to b1, doubling up on the b file, and now if Nepo can trade off some material, it will be easily winning for him. So Hans has to start with something. Rook captures on f4, G captures queen to h3 with check, saying that if Nepo goes anywhere along the second rank, then rook to g2 will pick up the white queen, but just king to e4. We have rook to g2 attacking Nepo's queen, queen to d3 offering a queen trade, and Hans, of course, has to politely decline queen to e6. And yes, Nepo's king is on e4, but it is very, very safe there, and there's really not much you can do. We have pawn to d5, sort of inviting queen to g6, but if you go queen to g6, then you can even play king to d4, and look at this. There's no way to go after that king. It's just there are no tricks there. I mean, it's so wonderful. No, not if you go. This actually happened in the game. King to d4 was Nepo's last move, and it was in this position on move 44 that Hans, Moke, and Niemann resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You could try something like queen to h5, but, well, the reason is the h7 square is covered by the white queen, and rook to b8 is coming, so it doesn't matter what you play. If you trade, you're just down a rook, and also, I mean, Nepo has all of these passed pawns, and if you move the queen, then it's very simple. Rook to c8 check, you have to go into the game, and now rook 1 to b7, and that's it. That's checkmate. Queen covers g7. This is covered by the pawns. This is covered by the rook, and this is covered by the other rook, and that is just checkmate. So yeah, very nicely done by Nepo, taking down Hans Niemann in this game. I don't know how the other game went. I think Hans actually defeated Nepo, but well, it was not enough for their team to overtake VR Chess, WR Chess. And everyone thought they would also win the Rapid section, but they didn't. They won 3rd place in Rapid, but 1st place in Blitz. And yeah, let's finish it off with this nice photo by Maria Emelianova. Like I said, if you can name all 10 of these great players, not all of them are players that actually played in the event, but I'm pretty sure you know at least 80, maybe 90% of the people in the photo. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any gems that definitely deserve to be seen, do use hashtag suggestion, and I will very happy go over them. I would like to thank the Animated Chemist, Roger Stone, Robert Aratun, Karl-Heinz Haas, and Martin Georg Paparik for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.